So what I want to talk about is cauliflower because it's becoming a very popular vegetable. It's been a popular vegetable for renal patients because of its mineral content. It's fairly low. But what people are using it for are a lot of different creative things now. And I was actually in a restaurant in Boulder, Colorado, where on their menu they had roasted cauliflower tacos, and they were wonderful. So I talked to the chef there and have tried to tweak his recipe to lower the sodium. And I want to show you how we're going to roast cauliflower and use the roast cauliflower as a filling for street tacos. So first what we want to do is we want to take a head of cauliflower and we're going to break it up. What I like to do is just cut the head in half. And then I want to take out this core. So what I do is I just bring my knife down around the core, so it's like a wedge, and then what's left are the florets, okay? And what you want to do with cauliflower florets is you want to try to keep them about the same size so that they all roast at the same time. So what I'm going to do is take out pieces like this, and I'm going to throw them into a baggie, because this is how I'm going to oil them. And if you have a really big head, I just go ahead and I cut the base and then pull it apart so it keeps that beautiful cauliflower shape. This is a pretty big one, so I'm going to cut it into 4, pull it apart. This is such a beautiful head of cauliflower. See how it just comes apart into pieces? This is a fairly big one. I'm probably going to cut this one into probably at least 4 to 6 pieces. Make sure you leave the leaves off. So there's just a half a head. Again, we're pulling apart the pieces, throwing them in the bag. If the stems are long, I try to cut them off because they're going to take longer to cook than the actual florets. All right, so for 1 head of cauliflower, I'm going to add a tablespoon of vegetable oil. And what this does when you're roasting is it helps transfer even heat all over the the cauliflower. So this helps transfer the heat all over the cauliflower. I put it in the bag, and I'm just going to shake this up. It's a pretty full bag, so I'm going to kind of move this around, and you want that oil to mix. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for a minute so the oil runs down, then I'm going to flip it over and let the oil run down again. And while the oil is covering all this cauliflower, I'm going to make a Southwest taco flavoring with no salt. So I have here an El Taco seasoning pack flavoring that has no salt. So I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of this taco seasoning. There's no salt added. It is very spicy. So what I like to do is I like to thin this down with a teaspoon of paprika. And then to give it that great Southwest flavor, I add a little more cumin to it. So I'm gonna add about 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And then what you want to do is you want to mix this up so that you get all those great flavors together. And I've actually used this flavoring, this no salt seasoning mix, in a restaurant where we had several Mexican flavored dishes, and nobody ever complained about the fact that there was no salt added to this dish. Okay? So now that the cauliflower florets have a little bit of oil on them, you can feel them, they're just a little bit slippery, which is what you want. I'm going to add my seasoning. This always reminds me of that old-fashioned commercial, you know, the company that used to shake and bake, because that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna shake this so that you can get those flavors. You want to get that seasoning on all the cauliflower. And then what I'm going to do is just lay this out on a roasting pan. And when you're roasting vegetables, you want it to have a single layer. You don't want to have it doubled up. So I want to make sure I spread that out across my pan. I'm going to roast this in an oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. You're going to find that the cauliflower will get golden brown on top and it will shrink down into a fairly small amount. So even though this looks like a full pan, it's going to be a pretty small amount when we're done. So our cauliflower has been roasting for about 45 minutes. I've stirred it just a couple times to make sure it's golden brown on all of its sides. I'm gonna pull it out of the oven. And what I have here are my tortilla shells with some shredded iceberg lettuce. And what I'm going to do is just add my seasoned cauliflower to the top over the lettuce. And then I'm gonna have one more little surprise for you here. Oh, this smells so good. It just smells like a nice Mexican kitchen. And the one thing I like about this is that as a patient, I never felt deprived. I was eating food like everybody else was. This is a new spice blend called Guac and Roll. It's by a company called Spiceology, and it just smells like guacamole. Oh, it smells so good. And you just want to sprinkle a little bit of this over the top. This is also a salt-free blend, so you're not adding any more sodium to this recipe. And there we go. We have roasted cauliflower street tacos for lunch. Another great way you can add another depth of flavor to these tacos and brighten them up is to take a squeeze of lime and just squeeze it over the top of your street tacos. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to add flavor to renal patients' diets without increasing their sodium intake. And I really look forward to seeing you again here at the NephU community.